Welcome into another edition of the Jungle Juice podcast. I'm Sam Gormley. He's Mick Nelson. Mick, how you doing?
I think I'm fully recovered from the disappointment that happened on Sunday. Feeling pretty good. Went to the gym after work, got a haircut.
Look at you.
There's some
Being a
TLC.
productive human being.
TLC after work today, which was nice. How about yourself?
Good. I mean, busy. I've been busy, which is helping with the depression of yet another loss to, well, I can't say really yet another loss to the Chiefs, but I guess it's now been 3 straight losses to the Chiefs. So in a way, yes, it's a little depressing, but yet optimistic. So that'll be something that we'll have to talk about as it goes along, because, as disappointing as the Bengals loss was on Monday to the Chiefs, or on Sunday rather to the Chiefs, there did breed quite a bit of optimism that will come out of it. And that'll be something that we will, of course, discuss today. Also on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the Paycor Stadium proposed renovations. We're going to discuss that. We're actually going to watch the video that they played yesterday to show it all off. We're looking forward to diving into that. And then Commanders on Monday night, a very interesting team. We're going to preview that matchup to get you ready for a team that, the Bengals see once every 4 years. And it's not like that's a playoff team recently. So it's really a team that probably Bengals fans don't know a ton about. It's had quite a bit of turnover over these last couple of years as well with you've got Dan Quinn as the new head coach of the Commanders. We invite you, though, to follow us on our social media channels. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are also on Twitter. We're also on your favorite podcasting platform. Make sure to follow us there and give us a 5-star rating. That way, that's how more people can find our show. But, Mick, to get us started, I don't think we really want to waste more time. And let's just go ahead and jump into this. Paycor Stadium. Again, we have to use the words of proposed renovations. And we'll talk more about it here in a little bit. But this video that we're about to show, this is not like, okay, we're breaking ground tomorrow, let's go ahead and go. Because as everyone knows when it comes to politics in general, these things move slowly because they cost a lot of money. So we will have to figure that out. But it's still exciting. Before we play the video, Mick, what did you think? What was your first reaction to some of the designs?
I mean, they look pretty cool. I think our season tickets are going to get a lot more expensive, which,
that was to be expected, though.
Whatever keeps the team in the city, right? Like, if you need to have $1 billion renovation done to keep pace with the rest of the league and, and stay in Cincinnati, because, if the Bengals ever left Cincinnati, the city's economy, I think, would probably tank, or it wouldn't be the same ever again. So yeah, I mean, whatever to keep the team in the city. The design looks really cool. I think it's more feasible to do this than to build a whole new stadium like other people are wanting to do, based off of opinions we've seen in the Houday Nation group. So yeah, I thought it looked cool. Looked like a modern NFL stadium. So. Yeah.
So what we'll do here is we'll play the video that they used to kind of replace or to broadcast this out and unveil their ideas. Then we'll talk a little bit more about what we saw, what we liked. And then you mentioned the rebuild thing. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about as well, Mick. So without further ado, let's go ahead and drop this video in.
Who holds the key for the gateway to the city? The fulcrum from Fountain Square to the Tall Stacks. The pivot point that unlocks every ounce of potential along the river. The beating heart of our hometown, where we show our stripes in every bite, step, smile, and roar. First down, touchdown, get down. This is a cavalcade of memories made.
The Cincinnati Kid, he will score!
From the jungle to the mighty Ohio, thanks to new green spaces and connections to the banks and downtown, complete connectivity for the city, with Bengals Promenade for enhanced tailgating on game day and public use year-round. This is where Paul Brown Way becomes a new icon, syncing all the parks around all them Tigers training. easier and safer stadium access, premium seating, and breakthrough views at every level. This is groundbreaking growth, redefining the way you watch your Bengals, all designed to enhance the way they build for battle. The north end zone, now the envy of the league. The south end zone, raised and expanded to meet your expectations for this team. 365 event spaces, a championship experience for the 513. This is a place 56 years in the making, and we're still just getting started. Creating a game day extravaganza for all ages, one that pays homage to rich traditions while raising the bar for an entire region. So I'll ask one more time, who holds the key for the gateway to the city? Every single one of us. When it comes right down to it, you. The new Paycor Stadium, made for Cincinnati to roar.
So there you go. For one, I do have to say here, Mick, we open this up. Don says, really, $1 billion. Why can't Sam do it? I mean, I'm a fan for life, but Sam is
You
the...
built a grill that one time, so you're qualified.
I did. You know, here's the thing, Don. I don't know if you're talking about me, but I don't have $1 billion laying around. I wish...
Do you have the grit?
You know what? I do have
to do it.
I got this. So I'm only, what, $999,999 away. So there we go. I'm a little bit far away from that. But
dude, the Bengals should just mine Bitcoin.
Isn't that like
you get money.
Isn't Bitcoin like corrupt now and like no longer a thing?
No, it's still a thing. Cryptocurrency is still a thing.
Okay.
I don't know if Bitcoin's corrupt. I don't know. I don't really invest in it myself, and we're not investment people. I'm just saying
we don't give advice on that.
Mike Brown has just refused to get into other business ventures. Why don't you just go buy a warehouse in the middle of wherever, Ohio, and just start mining some data? You know, that could bring in a lot of money.
It sounds like you're calling for a job for yourself.
No, I don't know how to mine Bitcoin. I'm only the idea guy.
Look at you. Well, you could be his idea guy then, right?
We should have a segment on the show of like, how can the Bengals get richer?
I'm sure we could come up with a lot of great ideas. But on this video, for one, I think it's awesome. I like some of the ideas that the Bengals have come up here, and I want to put it back up because I want to try and see if I can't find a couple of spots in the video, because to me, there was one part that really stood out that I liked maybe the most, and I'm going to try and see if I can find it really quick. If I was good at my job, Mick, I would have actually
to enhance the way
I would have actually saved the actual image from this, but it's of the outside of the stadium, and it is, well, I guess I might have passed it already. It is of what they're going to be doing to the practice facility outside. For one, I like this.
Really cool.
This really right nice. Here. This right here is what I'm kind of talking about. Because if you can see here, they're kind of replacing what used to be Longworth Hall on the left side of the screen here with a bunch of tailgating areas. And I think that's going to look really, really nice. Is you're, instead of tailgating in quote unquote just your parking lots and wherever you go, you're going to have these grassy lots.
In the city park. In the
city park, you're going to have these actual tailgate areas. But then as this goes along, maybe the things that people have been clamoring for more than anything, which I always find it funny that fans clamor for this, is right there.
Oh, look at that.
Is your indoor training facility. And I find it hilarious, Mick, that us as Bengals fans were like, we need a training facility. And it's funny because it's not like either one of us or fans would probably ever be able to step foot inside of it. But still, it seems like this is something that is viable. And in this as well, I don't think it's shown in this video, but one of the things that I liked about it is that on those facilities, they will have actual stands. So it's like 2,500 actual permanent seating. So if you go to training camp or they do open practices or so on, you'll actually be able to sit and watch the games. Comparatively to training camp now, where there's just a couple of bleachers and you just have to stand there and bake in the sun.
Bring your lawn chair, buddy. Bring the Wait, can you bring a lawn chair to training camp? I would assume you can.
I think so. There's just not a lot of room to do that. But I think the renovations, they look really cool. But I know the biggest thing is how are they going to pay for it? And neither one of us is going to at least even attempt to say that we are experts on the tax structure of Hamilton County, because here's the biggest aspect of it, Mick, is it's easy for us to say, yeah, Hamilton County should pay for it because neither one of us are Hamilton County residents, so it doesn't have a big deal for us.
Now, I do get Hamilton County taxes, or at least City of Cincinnati taxes taken out of my paycheck. Which
you do, and that's
they
different.
don't. They haven't funded the stadium through income tax, from my knowledge. I think it's sales tax based, but yeah, I also like that. I don't know who's behind like this whole thing. If I saw that the county had their kind of stamp of approval on it. I do like that whoever's kind of running this show is trying to get more funding out of the state of Ohio. Apparently, the Browns have been the more heavily funded franchise between them and the Bengals, which I think is crazy talk. I don't know. I know that the Browns are the more historic franchise and whatnot, but I don't know. DeWine is the mayor right now. DeWine is from Springfield, Ohio, is what I saw here on his Wikipedia, which could just be completely fake, but I don't think it is. So in Springfield, Ohio, I don't think is that far away from Cincinnati. I think it's closer. I think it's like in between Cincinnati and Columbus.
I know Mike DeWine is a Reds fan.
He's a Reds fan.
He's a Bengals fan. So that you would
he's
imagine
he's been at Bengals tailgates. I mean,
yeah.
I think that as a governor, you probably should be at those things. But yeah, so if they can get more state funding, put less of the burden on the Cincinnati taxpayers and more on the Ohio taxpayers in general, because I mean, an NFL team is huge for your state. 2 NFL teams is huge for your state.
And let's be real too. The Bengals are going to have to fund some of this money themselves too, and I think that they can come to terms with that. Now, 2 quick things that I saw a lot from fans. First one was, why don't they just put a dome on it? And Mick, we were talking beforehand. My older brother is an architect, and I should have asked him, is that even possible? Like architecturally? And I'm going to say yes. But to me, to put a dome on the stadium, I think they missed their opportunity to do that. If they wanted to do that, they should have done that when they built the stadium 25 years ago.
Also, there's something about AFC North football in playing that in an open-air stadium. I know the Browns are looking potentially at a dome stadium. I know that they had some type of new stadium plans, but I think those fell through.
No, they're coming.
But they're coming. Did that thing get approved?
I believe so. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I like the open air stadium. There's just a football feel to it when it's just like 20 degrees outside in January and you're watching your team play meaningful football. It's pretty fun. So yeah, I mean, I don't really care to have a dome. Just bundle up, just get over it. It's going to be cold. And also global warming's a thing. And I don't want to get too far into global warming, but it's really not that cold in January anymore.
The other aspect of it that I wanted to discuss is people have been saying is, okay, it's these renovation costs for the Bengals are about $1.25 billion, which is hard for us to wrap our brains around. But they say, why don't you just build something new for that price? For one, it would probably be at least double that price to build something new.
So the Raiders Stadium cost about $1.7 billion, which that was constructed 5 years ago. So that's got to be adjusted for inflation now.
About double.
I think the Bill Stadium's under $2 billion, and that's under construction right now. So I don't know if it'd be double, but it would be at least another $500 million, at least to.
And I think, listen, and at that point, if you're going to do it, like, let's do it right. Let's build it to where you're getting Final Fours and so on and everything to be used for that, like Indy up the road. But here's the biggest aspect of why that's really not feasible, or at least the questions that I have with that is, first off, where are you going to build it?
I agree. It would not have. I don't know if it could be downtown.
And that's that's right there. And I was talking with somebody earlier, Adam Johnson, a fellow admin of Houday Nation, he said, okay, he gets that point. He says, well, you could just build it in Mason or something. And I'm like, oh, and that was just as an example, I think, or just something. But I'm saying, okay, Do you want to build the stadium 30 minutes outside of Cincinnati, or 20 minutes, or or 10 minutes outside of Cincinnati? Like, you look at Kansas City. That stadium is not in Kansas City. It's outside of Kansas City, to where you are not downtown for them. They have Kauffman Stadium and Arrowhead kind of out on the island all by themselves. Like, to me, one of the great aspects of going to Bengals games is the downtown environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
A downtown environment. And Jeff brings up the good point about the open air versus closed air stadium is, fans love the open air, but the dome does generate more revenue and money wins out every time. And he's not wrong. He is not wrong with that, because you can get things like Final Fours and concerts and so on all year round, when concerts, you can really get only during the summer months right now in the city of Cincinnati. But that's the biggest thing is I think they had some number, and I should have written it down, but it's an insane amount of space that you need to build an actual stadium. There isn't that space downtown Cincinnati. There's just not.
No.
There's not. Especially with the new bridge being built. That's going to take up more room as well. So you're going to you would have the decision of, do you want to build it in Northern Kentucky? And I know Ohio fans aren't going to like that. And Ohio tax base wouldn't want that either. And then, or are you going to build it in an area like Mason? And that's where I just don't think rebuilding is even an option, or should be an option, I think, because I don't personally want the stadium to be outside of downtown Cincinnati.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if the demolition costs of the old stadium are factored in to the cost of what the new stadium would be. Or not, or if that's an additional cost, but I would imagine the demolition costs of Paycor would be pretty darn high to do. So yeah. I mean, I think the best course of action would be to just renovate what we currently have. Just, I don't think it's a bad NFL stadium. Well, I don't think it's great. It's not a great NFL stadium. I've never been to another one, but
I mean, the only other one that I've been to,
comparing it to the Red Stadium, it's pretty bad, but yeah.
The only other one that I've been to is Tennessee, and I'd say it's pretty on par with Tennessee. Now we're going to go to Carolina here in a couple of weeks, and I would imagine that Carolina's probably pretty on par, because those were all built around the same time. But I mean, it's hard to compare it to SoFi Stadium, just as an example, because for one, SoFi
Stadium,
because they're 20 years newer.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just the truth of it. And that's good. But I think that's pretty much, for the most part, what we needed to discuss when it comes to that. We can move on to some other things. Roster moves. The Bengals did make a roster move. They signed Lawrence Guy, a defensive end who has been around for a while, with the Patriots for a while. He's in his mid-30s. With that move, they waived KJ Henry.
Which was interesting.
They did cut somebody from their practice squad as well, Shedrick Jackson. So you would imagine that if KJ Henry does clear waivers, that he would then have a spot on the practice squad. Although that move was made 24 hours ago, so I would have thought that we would have heard by now whether he would have been claimed in waivers or not. But still, Bengals signed Lawrence Guy. They need defensive line help, because we're getting ready to talk about Mick. The injuries just continue adding up. I mean, they're relatively healthy at every other position group except defensive line. It's literally like every single injury that they've had on their team this year has been to the defensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I guess Tanner Hudson's dealing with a little bit of a nagging knee injury. T. Higgins has the hamstring. But other than that, Amarius Mims had the pec, but it's almost all to that defensive line, and that is starting to be a concern. So they're hoping that Lawrence Guy can help out with that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be getting some snaps on Monday, I would think.
Yeah, without question. Let's jump into Bengals Chiefs on Sunday afternoon for one. I do want to give a shout out to our guys, Arrowhead Addict. They came on here, and our guy Adam, he was very confident, 31-13. And Mick, I think we both thought that was a little blasphemous. And it was not that. And it was, if we're being honest, Adam, we were just talking about you. He pops in there. It's almost like he heard us talking about you. We were just talking about our conversation earlier. But this was, if you were just a fan of football, like if you were a a Dolphins fan or, you know, an Eagles fan or something, and you were just watching that game on Sunday afternoon, what a football game. You know, you probably were very entertained because it had a little bit of everything.
Yeah. It was I think it's a clear reminder that this is the best rivalry in the NFL. And I don't think it's even close. Just the level of energy that was in Arrowhead Stadium, and I think we got to go there at some point, Sam, because it just looked like a crazy environment over there. I know Josh Isles, our friend and fellow admin of Who Day Nation, who also runs the WDN Today page, had a great time over there. He said the Kansas City fans are really nice and cordial, just like we are, I think, over when opposing fans are hanging out with us going into Paycor Stadium for games. So I think we got to get over there. But yeah, that it was seems just like it was a killer game. It was a very entertaining, back and forth the entire game. You had a lot of drama in the game, and yeah, I mean, I know we didn't come out with the win, but it was a good time.
Now, I got to ask, though, is you're saying you want to go. How much did Adams talk about barbecue have an impact on you wanting to now go? Our guy, Adam Fairhead,
I don't think the talk really changed anything. I want some barbecue. I want some barbecue big time. But
yeah. You can get some barbecue in North Carolina, too. They got their own style down there as well.
Vinegar. No? It's vinegary. I'm not a big vinegar barbecue guy. I want some sweet or smoky barbecue.
Interesting. Well, speaking of barbecue, Adam, you got to try some of his barbecue. That would be really good. What I liked from the Bengals game against the Chiefs, for me, the biggest thing and my biggest takeaway is that Joe Burrow looked more Joe Burrow-like.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing that I needed to see on Sunday is I needed to feel better about him because week 1 was not great, if we're being honest. It was not great. But he looked more Joe Burrow-like, and that it was a huge standout for me.
Yeah, I think, and also kudos. I'm going to give some props to Zach. I think that he had to throw out a lot of last week's game plan against the Patriots away, and once they found out that T wasn't going to play, and then obviously the whole problem with Jamar, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I think that really curtailed the game plan, and you saw a whole different game plan in this game against the Chiefs. You saw the tight ends. This might have been the most heavily featured I've ever seen the tight ends in the Zach Taylor offense. I mean, they out-targeted the wide receivers in this game, I believe. And yeah, I thought that Zach called more or less a pretty darn good game. And yeah, I think Burrow looked a lot more like himself, completed 23 of 36 passes, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a 74 passing grade. His average depth of target was 7.5 yards, which is a lot more like the 2022 Burrow that we're used to seeing. He was better at avoiding sacks. He was facing a little bit more pressure because Chris Jones just ate Cordell Volson's lunch in this game, which that's not
like surprising. He does a lot of offensive linemen.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, not to crap on Cordell Volson or anything like that. That's just Chris Jones being really good. I do want to note on Joe Burrow, he hasn't been great at scrambling so far this year. His run grade's pretty poor. It's like in the 30s or the 40s on PFF.
And he probably took a hit for that too with the fumble.
Yes, I think the fumble probably had something to do with that. But he's only averaging 4 yards per scramble so far this season, and his career average is around 6. And also the fumbling is, I think, a point of emphasis now because he's now fumbled the ball 3 times in 2 games, and he fumbled the ball only twice last season. So that's just something to kind of take note of there.
The play that people stand out and talked a lot about, and I kind of want to come back to a little bit of it in the didn't like section, is when he rolled out in the red zone and had the open space in front of him that he could have run, but ended up throwing to Trenton Irwin instead. I think that's probably one that people have talked about is should he have run it?
You got to pull that. And you had so much open field ahead of you like that.
He did. But at the same time, he did hit Trenton Irwin, which should have been in the hands. I mean, Trenton Irwin just hit him in the face.
Yeah, but I mean that ball, and it was a good ball from Burrow, but that's just coming at an awkward angle where the defender was positioned around Trenton Irwin, and And I don't know. I think that was just like an awkward.
And he,
I don't. It was a good throw. I mean, the ball placement was right there. I just think that something was just off on that. But
and
yeah,
that's probably one that when he watched film later, he should have said, "I should have run it."
Probably.
You mentioned tight ends though, and that's something that stands out because tight ends too, plural. I mean, if I would have told you that the first 2 catches for the Bengals against the Chiefs on Sunday was going to be Drew Sample, you probably would have been like, "What? What? Both of them to Drew Sample?" But I mean, you saw Drew Sample get, and I don't know that he had another catch the rest of the game. But Mike Gesicki, he had a big drop, which we can come back to, but he had a good game. And Eric All had a big game as well. And I'm interested to see is how much of that was the Chiefs can't cover tight ends. We saw Isaiah Likely torch them week 1. And how much of that was the Bengals are going to roll into that? And then how much of that is we have to find receivers because T. Higgins is hurt?
It's probably a little bit of both, honestly, because I don't think Yoshavash or Irwin are really getting it done. Burrow, Taylor, I mean, right now, I guess they don't trust Burton enough for him to have more snaps, but he did have more snaps in this game. He had 10 snaps, had a really nice 47-yard catch, which I think that – what was the end of that drive? Was that a field goal? That drive resulted in points, or was that a touchdown? But
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't either. But yeah, right now the receivers aren't getting open in general is my point here. And until T gets back, you gotta find solutions there. And I think you found a long-term solution for the season for the Tyler Boyd departure in the slot and Mike Gesicki. And Gesicki looked great, and we'll talk about the drop like you said, but caught 7 of 9 targets for 91 yards. He was primarily playing in the slot position, and we heard tidbits from the coaching staff during training camp, during the offseason, that was the role they were looking for Mike Gesicki to fill there. So he was great as really the primary target in this game. It was one of the best games I think I've ever seen from Mike Gesicki. And it looks like Eric All is going to be taking that inline tight end role going forward this season. I thought he played really well as well.
Yeah, without question. I mean, here's the stat too for you, Mick, that I don't know if you were planning on mentioning or not. Bengals used motion. There you go. There's your word.
A lot.
70.5% of their time against the Chiefs defense.
Amazing.
Far and away the highest number of the Zach Taylor era. You want to know the next gen stats on that, Mick?
You give them.
Yards per play when they used motion. 6.2 yards per play. When they didn't, 2.9 yards per play. I mean, we might not be football experts. We might not even be math experts, but the math is math in there. 70.5% motion. I mean, 6.2 to 2.9. That is a massive, massive, massive difference.
Yeah. It was amazing to see. And I'm glad to see that. And I think Burrow was kind of the driving force of not a lot of motion. I think that from what I've heard, he likes to see the field spread out. He really likes to rely heavily on his pre-snap. But why not have the offensive equivalent of ChatGPT also help you become a better quarterback, right? And that's what pre-snap motion really does. And
is that your line, or is that someone else's line?
No, I just took that off the top of my head, and I think I'm gonna. Yeah,
are you gonna patent that?
No. This is America. You can say whatever you want, America, except for the things you shouldn't say. But anyways, yeah. I think it doesn't hurt for Burrow to have some aids at his side schematically. With the pre-snap motion, it definitely helped. And then it also helped me because I never see them run it. And, when you're watching NFL Red Zone, you don't catch every little single thing that announcers say during games, right? So when it's happening during a Bengals game, you're definitely paying attention more to what Romo's saying. And Romo actually called a decent game, I think, for the most part. He wasn't. I think he's done away with the gimmicky stuff, which is nice. He kind of sounded like old Romo.
I don't know, Jim.
I didn't hear that once, but yeah, was a little disappointed in that. But yeah, no, you're like, well, if the defender's following him, that's how you know it's man coverage versus zone coverage, which is kind of nice. Why haven't we been doing this? Like, we should have been doing this for the past forever.
And see, to me, that's also really good on Romo is because a color analyst, in some instances, to most football fans, that's pretty solid information. But you have people watching that don't know the game of football. That's really good information for people because in that position, you have to be simple sometimes. And I think he did a really good job with that. But yeah, the pre-snap motion was fantastic. And another thing that really stood out to me, and I was just looking quickly in PFF, I meant to look about this earlier. Mick, you're very much better at that website and looking around, so you might actually have the stat. But Burrow went under center too as well, much more than I'm necessarily used to. And I was curious on the numbers on that, and I'm not smart enough to figure out the PFF website.
I did not see. Yeah, I'm not smart enough to find that exact snap. I can probably find it.
And it's not something that we need to necessarily figure out right now, but was that something that you noticed as well, was more under center?
Yeah. And I think that we haven't really seen, we didn't really see much of it last year because of the calf injury, right?
But it was something Jake Browning did a lot of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they integrated that a lot more for Burrow, and I think when you have the offensive line to do it, and the offensive lines looked not bad this year so far. I think you're able to do that, and Burrow's able to feel a little more comfortable in that situation. So yeah, I like that Burrow is under center more, giving the defense different looks. Again, Zach called a really good game, and I think the offense, other than the red zone efficiency, looked really good in this game.
And that's against a good Kansas City defense too. That's that. They might not be as great as they were last year, but has maybe the best defensive player in the game, the best interior defensive player in the game. I don't think there's any question on that. But one of the best all-around defensive linemen. You've got a solid secondary. Now, they did expose it in some ways. They're not quite the same without L'Jarius Sneed, but I still am very happy with how the offense looked. But I think we got to talk about the Bengals defense as well. And it's got to start, to me, with Cam Taylor-Britt. He made the comment late last week where he pretty much said, Xavier Worthy, he's fast, but he's straight line fast. He's not, and I was like, ooh, Cam, let's not stroke the bear. Like, let's just keep things, he backed it up. He backed it up and played incredible. A 90.2 coverage grade. And that's the wildest part about this, Mick, is a 90.2 coverage grade, and he gave up a long touchdown.
Yeah.
Which
who knows how high that grade would be if
exactly.
he didn't give up that touchdown to Rashee Rice.
It might have,
and he almost didn't give that
up. Had a perfect game. Yeah, because he almost made an incredible tip on it.
Yeah. And that was a beautiful throw from Patrick Mahomes. That was the best, definitely Mahomes' best throw of the game on Sunday. But yeah, he almost got. He was just so close. He hesitated just
ever so
little
slightly.
bit too. Yeah, ever so slightly against Rashee Rice. And a beautiful throw from Patrick Mahomes. It resulted in a 44-yard touchdown. But that interception might have been the best interception I've ever seen.
It's one of the best catches.
Yeah.
Let's just throw out the interception part. That's one of the best catches you're ever going to see.
Yeah.
Backpedaling, one hand, comes down with it, moment of the game, and then it makes it even better that, for one, it was against Xavier Worthy, if my memory's right, who he was talking the crap about. And two, that's Patrick Mahomes. That's a guy who is one of the best quarterbacks maybe ever. It's hard to disagree with, 3 Super Bowl rings already and multiple MVPs. But he absolutely stood up, and I'm glad for that. And the other guy on the defense that almost single-handedly won them the game was Trey Hendrickson. He should be illegal. 32% pass rush win rate. I am sure that old Kingsley is still having nightmares about Trey Hendrickson off the edge because Trey Hendrickson carved him up and ate him for supper.
Did we get any footage of Trey Hendrickson's neck?
He
over the
probably
past
is
few months.
probably kind of red.
I would think it might be purple at this point. Yeah.
The clotheslines.
Also, only one holding call on Kingsley, which I don't know. That's I think he was held a lot more than that in that game.
Look at us though. How proud are you though that we made it 35 and a half minutes without mentioning the refs? Look at us. We did good. We did good.
But yeah, I mean, Trey was great. Had 2 sacks, which it felt like he had more, but he only had 2 sacks, 6 pressures, 32% pass rush win rate, which is that's like Myles Garrett level of pass rush win rate, and was out there pretty much the entire game. I mean, he looked absolutely incredible. Now, the thing is, nobody else on the pass rush played very good at all.
In their defense, he ran out of bodies. I mean, because you're thinking of who are your hopeful, your best pass rushers that were actually active on Sunday behind Trey Hendrickson. You'd hope maybe Sam Hubbard,
but say BJ Hill, Joseph Osai,
and Sheldon Rankins in there as well. And okay, 2 of them go down with hamstring injuries. So they literally had nobody else. I mean, you got to think the biggest play of the game, Zach Carter and Jay Tufele, I think, were on the field. And that's not because of their prowess. It's because they literally had nobody else. Yeah. I thought they were going to have to call Josh Isles down from the 15th row to go out there and give him a couple of defensive end snaps.
I think he would have done it too.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he might have been able to get around Kingsley. The other defensive player, though, that we have to mention is a boy that, if I remember right, that old Mick Nelson was wanting to cut in training camp, and he obviously heard it, and he's probably been replaying that clip over and over again. Akeem Davis-Gaither. I mean, out of nowhere.
Game. He had a really good game.
I wasn't expecting him to, because when I saw the play that I was like intercepted, I was thinking, okay, linebacker, first glance was, it's got to be Logan or Jermaine. And I was like, wait a second. Is that Akeem Davis-Gaither?
That was ADG.
I was like, whoa, go Akeem. But listen, coming out of nowhere and played a really good game.
Yeah, limited snaps, but I think he I didn't write down the grading, but I think he
graded a 90, over a 90.
Yeah, he was either the best or the second best graded player on the team. It might be him or CTB, but yeah, ADG had the interception, had a few run stops, I think, and yeah, looked pretty good in doing so.
Tackling as well was much better for the Bengals.
Yeah.
Now, if we're being honest, it's hard to be much worse than against the Patriots. Hard to be much worse. Only 4 missed tackles, which is not great, but when you had, 135 against the Patriots, it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Anything else that stood out to you that you really wanted to mention in the like category before we hop into the didn't like?
Coverage in general looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Dax, played pretty well. I think the safety duo of Von Bell and Geno Stone. I mean, I think they, you can just tell a night and day difference between 2024's defense and 2023's defense with the safety change. So just coverage looked pretty good altogether. They look like a top 5 coverage unit right now in the league.
Yeah, they've been playing extremely well. As far as didn't like, and I think it's kind of a discussion that we need to have, Mick, because I think if you look at the stats, you're going to say, oh, wide receiver 3 for the Bengals had a pair of touchdowns, which is
it.
Accurate. But like you said, that's it. And if we're being honest, my concern level is rising just a little bit because, Yoshi, if we're being honest, big drop on that last drive. Now, was the ball perfectly thrown by Burrow? No, it was probably a hair behind him. But even Joe Goodberry on Twitter, and if you don't follow him on Twitter, Mick, I know you do. He might be my favorite follow on Twitter. He pumps out unbelievable content. He went through and he looked at it on the on the all 22, and it's a ball that Yoshi needs to catch. It was a hair behind him, but really it wasn't that bad of a ball. And if you're an NFL wide receiver,
did he have on that all 22?
Not a ton, but it was a first down.
Yeah.
which is at that point in the game really all that matters.
You need that. That kills more clock.
Exactly. But am I wrong to say that I'm starting to get a little bit concerned? Just a little bit.
I don't know. I'm not too concerned about it if I didn't feel like they had the eventual solution on the depth chart somewhere in Jermaine Burton, which I think that we're going to start seeing him get more integrated into the game plan. We saw a snap share go up. We saw him catch 47-yard catch, averaging 4.7 yards per route ran because he ran 10 routes. That would be best in the NFL right now. But yeah, I would be if we didn't have a guy on the depth chart that I think could do any better than Yoshivage. Like, say, if we just had a bunch of other Trent Irwins or Charlie Jones out there, another one of those guys out there, then I'd be concerned. But you have the solution. Also, if we're looking at the solution in the slot, I mean, Mike Gesicki played in the slot more than anybody else in this game. He might just be the solution at the slot. You have Eric All in as your inline tight end, and there's your solution right there once T gets back. So, no, I'm not too concerned about it yet.
Because I think if T plays Monday, which it does seem like there's no injury reports yet because they're a day delayed. So tomorrow is when Zach Taylor and Burrow talk, so we'll learn more about T. But he was going through his warm-ups on Sunday, so he might be back. And let's just say for this conversation that he is back on Monday. I think Trenton Irwin is probably the guy that is inactive because I love Trenton Irwin. He seems like, for one, that he is a A+ human being, but he hasn't produced so far. And
no, I mean, I don't think him or Yoshi have really produced. I know Yoshi had the 2 touchdown catches, but
Yoshi's been disappointing. And I know it's hard to say somebody was disappointing and they had 2 touchdowns against the 2-time defending world champions. But like we said, that is the only thing he did. And that is just a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
You have anything you didn't like?
I don't know if I didn't like it. I didn't love it. Pass blocking wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. One guy kind of dragged the pass blocking grade down, so maybe it's maybe if it weren't for Cordell Volson going up against Chris Jones, I'd probably say that the offensive line as a whole looked a lot better. But one guy kind of dragged it down, and it was Cordell Volson with an 11 pass block grade, gave up 5 pressures and a sack. One good note, I guess, here on the offensive line, Trent Brown looked a lot better this week. Had a 70 pass block grade, only gave up a pressure. And then the other 3 offensive linemen also played pretty well. Orlando Brown Jr. is starting to look like the offensive tackle that we signed back in March of 23. So that was nice to see too.
Yeah, he's been incredible. Maybe not incredible, but he's been really good.
He's been good.
He's been, and honestly, that's all the Bengals need. They need good. They need good from these offensive linemen. I think we got to talk a little bit about Dejon Anthony.
Poor guy.
Yeah, you have to feel for him. I mean, it's the same thing of, I always hate and it's the same thing, and we probably need to talk about Chase's penalty as well. I hate blaming losses on one specific thing. It's the same thing as 2 years ago where they blamed Joseph Osai, for the penalty. It's not Dejon Anthony's fault. He had 2 penalties that were rough. Sure, it happened. Timing is everything. But there were also other things that the Bengals could have done to not put them in a situation like that, like drops.
They could have made they could have caught the ball. They could have made an extra point. They could have not fumbled the ball for a touchdown.
Yes. So,
it's a team game. It's a team game. And also, we can talk about the play a little bit. I mean, how was the Dejon supposed to guard that? And also, I get that he was early to the ball or whatever, but he's going for the ball. He's got it. In my opinion, he's got as equal of a right to that ball as Rashee Rice had. So I don't know about that play. I mean, how often does that really get called on the last play of the game or whatever?
To me, it's funny. As you know, Mick, I always have my hats on during games. And when really bad moments happen, the hat gets spiked. And the hat hasn't been spiked in it's been some time. But the hat has been spiked, and it's still sitting in the corner of my living room. It has not moved. It's going to stay there for a little bit. It's fine. It's not bothering anything, but it needs to stay there because I'm not ready to pick it back up yet because it got spiked once I saw that the penalty had been thrown. Was it pass interference? Maybe. To me, the funniest thing about it, though, is that, I really don't think the NFL referees are biased towards the Chiefs. Like, I really don't think that that's actually the case. But it is wild how they have gotten, like, all of these. Like, you just go back and look through the years that they've gotten all of these calls. And it's just funny, like, when you look at it. And again, I'm not saying that there's any funny business because I don't necessarily think that there is. But it is.
I think it's just with the way the Chiefs play the game, honestly. It's just, I mean, I know it's 4th and 16 and you're throwing the ball deep, but I think, they throw the ball, I think, deep or, with the more average depth of target than any other team in the league. And I feel like the deeper a pass goes, the more likely there's a chance of a PI getting called in the game. So I don't know if it's anything with the ref bias. I think it's really just with the way that the Chiefs may run their offense, where they maybe get calls like that a little more often than other teams do. But yeah, I just I don't know how else Dejan was supposed to guard that, because if he doesn't do what he did, I'm guessing I'm thinking Rasheed's probably catching the ball. Potentially, the ball was a little bit high, but yeah, I mean,
it just stinks. It stinks because obviously, if penalty's not thrown there, Bengals are 1-1, 1-1. But where do the Bengals stand as a whole right now as we go into the Commanders game? And that is where I'm feeling even more optimistic, I guess, about this team, because I think for the most part, when we were talking 1 week ago, Mick, we were worried because if Adam from Arrowhead Addict was correct and the Bengals would have lost 31-13, this show would have not been fun because there would have been a whole lot of deep conversations. And I don't believe in moral victories or anything, but there was such a thing as a moral victory. Sunday would have been as close to a moral victory as a moral victory will come, I guess. But you look at the AFC North right now. The Steelers are 2-0. And I don't know that they scored a touchdown yet. Or I guess maybe they scored one touchdown. Okay. Browns are 1-1. Who knows? Their quarterback looks awful. And who knows in all seriousness, who knows with all of the new allegations that are coming out, who knows what's going to happen for them. Although the Browns would probably be better without him. He'd probably be better with Jameis. And then you look at the Ravens and the Bengals. They're literally identical. Literally identical.
Yeah.
Both lost at the last second at the Chiefs, and both have a really bad home loss to a team that they should have beaten.
Yeah.
Now,
the Ravens didn't lose last second against the Chiefs, though. They were down, on the toe play, right? Where but the Bengals were, they were up and it was a field goal. So I don't know. I think.
And then you can also say that the Ravens blew a 10-point lead, where the Bengals just never led against the Patriots. Can't blow a 10-point lead if you never lead, right?
Exactly.
But yes, so I'm optimistic.
Yeah, here's the thing. This isn't uncharted territory for this team. This has become an obvious trend. So, they're going to have chances to correct this like they did in 2022, like they did in 2023. You have to. This is a must-win game now. 0-3 is not 0-3 is uncharted territory for this team. So that's something to keep note of. Where the Ravens right now, they're kind of in uncharted territory with the 0-2 start.
And it doesn't get any easier for them.
They go to the Cowboys. They play the Cowboys now,
who are coming off of a butt whooping over the weekend. Are the Saints good?
The prodigal son. The prodigal son is making pretty good play calling decisions right now.
Good old Clint Kubiak. I just love that they throttled the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Throttled them. Felt bad for poor Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
Poor Mike Zimmer. How about we jump into the Commanders?
Sure.
On Monday evening, here's your trivia question, Mick. Who was the Bengals quarterback the last time the Commanders played at the Bengals?
Oh.
Who started quarterback?
Oh. Yes.
So when was the last time the Commanders played in Cincinnati?
2016?
Did they?
2016.
Did they?
Nope, not well. No, well, that was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Good job. Ryan Fitzpatrick was the last time, because you remember in 2016, this is the first time the
London game.
Exactly. The first time the Commanders have played, I guess the Commanders have never played a game. Washington has not played a game here since December of 2008. December of 2008. Ryan Fitzpatrick was the Bengals quarterback. Who was the leading receiver that day, Mick? It's kind of a trick question.
Jerome Simpson.
No. Cedric Benson was the Bengals' leading receiver. He had
I was about to ask, was this the Cedric Benson coming out party for the Bengals?
He had a 79-yard catch and run, but did not score on it. He had 21 carries for 73 yards, which is not very good. But I find Bengals leading tacklers, there were two top, a safety and a linebacker. I believe this guy was a linebacker, if my memory's right. Yes.
Brian Simmons and Torrey James.
Wrong on both. How about Chris Crocker?
Oh, Marshall alum.
And Brandon Johnson. Linebacker.
That's a name.
And then there's also a guy, Kyrie's Hebert, which Herbert.
Harris Herbert.
Hebert. I have no memory of that guy even existing, but he was on the Bengals for 2 years. The quarterback and again, we're taking too much time on this, but the quarterback for the Washington team at that time
let me guess.
Okay. I believe.
got nothing. Damn.
Am I right?
Josh
Yes.
Freeman.
No, you've got a Bengals legend.
Gus Frerotte.
No. Jason Campbell.
Oh,
Bengals legend Jason Campbell was their starting quarterback that game. But again, it's been since 2008 that they have come here. I felt like it was fun to drop in a little trivia there for you. Starting off our preview here, will T. Higgins play?
Yes.
Will we see Amarius Mims?
No.
Okay. Will he be active?
No.
No. Okay. Commanders, when we talk about them, the offense, it starts obviously with their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Here's your stat, Mick. Jaden Daniels, the only quarterback with 500 total yards and 0 giveaways through his first 2 starts in NFL history. Biggest thing with him, though, is he has no passing touchdowns. He does have 2 rushing touchdowns. He is averaging 5.1 yards per rush, but he's been sacked 7 times. That offensive line is something that is going to be something to watch. Brian Robinson, that is the key player for this game. If the Bengals slow him down, they win. But Brian Robinson, if I had him on a fantasy team, I would be frothing at the mouth. I'd be so happy. He's averaging 6 yards per carry this year, and he's going up against a run defense that was not very good. Austin Eckler, only 10 carries, but is their leading receiver as well. And then also I wish I had like a siren because we have to do an alert. Noah Brown is on Washington. Noah Brown Noah Brown in his last 2 games against the Bengals, 13 catches for 263 yards and a touchdown.
Oh, we're toast.
13 catches for 263 yards and a touchdown. The Bengals, Noah Brown turns into Randy Moss or whoever you want to think about when he plays the Bengals. So if you're looking for somebody to pick up on fantasy, he might be a decent option because he goes off against the Bengals. The biggest aspect of this when it comes out, at least to me, with the Commanders offense is starting left tackle Brandon Coleman. He is a rookie. Pass blocking grade this year, Mick, 25.9.
Ooh, not good. Is he gonna is he gonna start still?
Yes. Apparently, according to what I was reading earlier, he is still expected to start. In only 21 pass blocking snaps this year, he's given up 2 hits, 2 hurries, and 4 pressures. Trey Hendrickson, he is. Trey Hendrickson's like, oh, another one. That's the biggest thing, but you just got to find a way to stop the running attack.
Can Trey wear like a neck brace for this game?
Yes. Hopefully, if you're at home we'll talk about the referee a little bit later, that maybe you'll get a couple more of those holding calls. But I think, to me, all about this Commander offense is stopping the run and forcing Jaden Daniels to beat you through the air.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's getting pressure on Jaden Daniels in general, because, I mean, I think if there's one thing that Jaden Daniels isn't great at, it's handling pressure. I've got some stats for you, but then I clicked away from them to look at something else. So let me pull those up real quick. Versus pressure, when he's kept clean, 65 passing grade right now. He's completing 82% of his passes for 8.2 yards per attempt, which is pretty good. But he's under pressure. His grade drops down to a 26 passing grade. Completing only 37% of his passes, averaging less than 5 yards per attempt. Had a turnover-worthy play under pressure last week. And I think that was like kind of his one biggest flaw when you're looking at his LSU tape as well, that Jaden Daniels isn't great at dealing with pressure. And when you've got Trey Hendrickson potentially going up against Brandon Coleman, I smell opportunity if I'm Lou Anarumo. And also, we talked about how good this coverage unit is. This receiving unit for Washington is pretty darn bad right now. It's not.
They
good.
do have Randy Moss coming out there, though. Remember that.
They do have Noah Brown coming out there, and you kind of hope that you catch the other end of variance with him this time around. But you have Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz, and Terry McLaurin hasn't played well so far this year. You got Luke McCaffrey. This is not a receiving unit other than Noah Brown potentially, because he just loves to beat up on us.
And Zach Ertz is, I think, 94 years old, isn't he?
He's not a young man.
I mean, what is he? Is he 36? I'm looking it up right now. What do you think? How old is Zach Ertz? I'm going to say 36.
30. I'll get 35.
Oh, he's only
34.
33. He's 33, so he's a little younger. It just feels like he's been around for so long.
Yeah, well, tight ends are kind of like running backs potentially, right? Like they take a lot of beating, I think, throughout their careers. Like you don't see tight ends like last that long, and that aren't Travis Kelce, right, or Tony Gonzalez. I mean, hell, Gronk had to take off like a year or two and they come back.
I mean, it's kind of interesting though. That's a good comparison with running back, because, and then you've got your Frank Gores, who stay around so long, and there have been a couple of tight ends who have played into their late 30s as well, and almost 40. Like Ebron, isn't he still a thing?
No.
Wasn't he in the league last year?
Also, Ertz has been in the league longer than Ebron. No, maybe he hasn't. Has he?
Okay, Eric Ebron's only 31. Who am I thinking of? Oh, it doesn't matter. I for this offense, though, it's all about stopping Brian Robinson. Because averaging 6 yards per carry this year. Now, they have not necessarily gone up against good defenses. Giants last week and week 1. Now I don't even remember who it was. Week 1, the Commanders, they lost to the Bucks. So I guess the Bucks is not a bad defense, but not a great defense either. But it's just all about that. I mean, Brian Robinson last week had 133 yards on the ground against the Giants. Now they didn't score any touchdowns because they have Austin Seibert. I don't remember how to say his last name. Bengals legend. Coming in there, he's having his redemption game against the Bengals on Monday night.
Welcome back, Austin. Welcome back to Cincinnati.
The defense for the Commanders. Bobby Wagner. Hey, remember him?
Still good.
Really good against the run, especially. 91 run grade for Bobby Wagner. But the secondary, not great, Bob. Not great, Bob.
Good.
I mean, they're allowing a quarterback rating of 134.4 and a reception percentage of 73%. QBR of 134.
Not great. Hey, how did they do against Daniel Jones? I'm gonna look that up.
Baker Mayfield, who again, Baker Mayfield has played pretty good.
They made Daniel Jones look okay.
So it's just like this game needs to be a game where Joe Burrow goes off. goes off. This against this secondary, this should look like Burrow against the Falcons and Panthers from 2 years ago, where he just absolutely torches them. Or the Raven, maybe not quite the Ravens from 2021. Maybe it's not quite that bad of a secondary, but he should absolutely eat them alive, especially if T. Higgins is playing.
I'm hoping to see a Falcons-esque Burrow game. We're due. We have. When was the last time we saw a Falcons-esque Burrow game?
49ers last year?
I don't think that was Falcons-esque. That was like playoff Burrow, like really. I mean, maybe not Falcons-esque. When I say Falcons-esque, it's like.
But then
Burrow's just throwing bombs. Burrow's literally just throwing bombs all game.
Yeah, and Burrow hasn't played a team probably that bad and since probably that Falcons game in 2022, which was that the game? No, you missed Panthers that year, right? Was it Panthers?
No, I missed the Falcons.
You missed the Falcons.
No, I was there for the Panthers. Was the 5-touchdown Joe Mixon game.
That's right. But that secondary, just you got to expose it.
Yeah.
Any other points on their defense?
No, yeah, you got to expose it. Their pass rush doesn't really scare me at all. Who do you got here? Jonathan Allen, he's pretty good. Deron Payne's also pretty good. So Cordell Volson might have his hands full with Jonathan Allen again, but your edge rushers aren't very good at all. Dorrance Armstrong, coming over from Dallas, has been kind of just a role player for them his entire career, is now coming back. You got Cleveland Farrell, which he's being rotated in there. He's been largely a bust. Since being drafted number 4 overall by the Raiders. Dante Fowler Jr., another like journeyman on the edge. Linebackers are good. Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, you've already mentioned them. Safeties. Jartavius Martin doesn't really scare me. Jeremy Chin, about the same. So, yeah, I mean, I think the offense has got a really big opportunity to.
The one wild card is Dan Quinn, defensive-minded head coach. Does he have something? You know, his Cowboys defenses the last couple of years were really, really good.
They were.
And
that's why I thought this defense would be a lot better than what it's been so far.
Yes, and part of that is that he has pretty much me and you playing corner for him. Although one of them is Emmanuel Forbes, who I mean, I know there were some definite red flags, but he was still a first-round corner, last year?
Yeah.
2023.
They also drafted. They drafted a defensive back this year.
Well, they drafted Johnny Newton in the second round.
No.
I don't even remember who they drafted.
Mike Sanderstill.
They did. Yes, out of Michigan, who the Bengals were potentially looking at as well. Frank says the Bengals should be 2-2. How about we jump in here to just close out the show here? Bengals versus Commanders, 8:15 p.m. on Monday night. ABC, Buck and Aikman. We get old Joe Buck on the call. Remember, this game is on ABC, not ESPN. There is another Monday Night Football game, Bills and Jags?
Yeah, I'm surprised we got the ABC flex, by the way.
I was too.
I
would have thought Bills Jags would have gotten and we would have gotten Fowler and Riddick like we did last year. The referee, Brad Allen. Bengals are 4-3 in games for Brad Allen. A couple of notable games for you. He was the ref of the Burrow Bowl back in 2019 against the Dolphins. Remember that wild game?
Yeah, that was a fun game.
Thursday Night Football against the Jaguars in 2021.
Oh, the Urban Meyer video game.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then in 2022, home against the Steelers, Mike Hilton pick 6 game. That's how I remember that one, where they just throttled them. And then the Cowboys game in 2022 as well. Not a great game. Rulers of the Jungle, Mick's favorite Bengal of all time, Corey Dillon and Tim Crumry. Your national anthem will be Walker Montgomery.
That's a country guy right there.
He is the son of John Michael Montgomery, who is Montgomery Gentry.
Is that country?
Yes. You'd probably recognize at least one of their songs. Our Town is one of them.
Your name can't be Walker Montgomery, and you can't be a country.
Yeah,
be a country.
He's not a rapper, Mick. There aren't like many Walker.
Imagine there is like a reggae artist out there named Walker Montgomery.
Yeah, I just like Kendrick Lamar and Walker Montgomery for the halftime show this year. Like, that makes a lot of sense. You got to pick?
We
Or
win by
prediction?
a lot.
How much is a lot? We always drop in the
7.
Whoa! So you're saying this is going to be a old-fashioned butt kicking?
We need one. We're due.
Uh-huh.
We're due, Samuel. We need to win. We need a big one.
I kind of tend to agree with you. I'm going to say 27-10. 27-10. Bengals defeat the Commanders. Who's your MVP? You got one? You want to drop in?
Trey
Hendrickson?
That dude's just gonna eat.
You know what?
That's gonna eat Brandon Lucas's lunch.
I am
Brandon Coleman, my bad, not Brandon Lucas.
He doesn't even deserve to be called Brandon Coleman after the game that Trey Hendrickson's going to have for him on Sunday or Monday, right?
That was a reach of a pick, by the way. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. That was a reach of a pick. Like, that dude should have been a 5th or 6th round draft pick.
Geno Stone pick 6. There's my bold prediction. Geno Stone gets a pick 6. And that's going to be what, like, in the early third quarter, it's going to be just close enough to where we're like, Geno Stone pick 6. And then in the third and fourth quarter, we just get to sit back and enjoy the game. So there you go. That's my bold prediction for Monday night. And you're saying Trey Hendrickson has a big game, which I think is accurate as well.
It's not really bold, but yeah, that's a prediction.
Your Trey Hendrickson? No, it's not very bold. And Geno Stone pick 6. I don't know how bold it is, but
I mean, that's bold. Pick 6s don't happen very often. Those don't grow on trees, Sam.
They don't.
6s don't grow. When was the last time we had a pick 6 in a game?
Was it Mike Hilton against Big Ben in that Steelers game?
Man, we haven't had one since then.
I'm trying to think of one.
Oh wait, what? Was there one in the Niners game?
There was one close, Jermaine, but he didn't end up scoring. It was in he got the ball in the red zone. Let's see if I can just Google Bengals pick 6s. Oh, Jermaine Pratt had one last year, but remember, Trey Hendrickson was offsides against the
Texans.
Yep. You are right there. That is not the right one. Yeah. So, Cam Taylor-Britt had one against the Cardinals last year.
Oh, did he really?
Yes.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that was like right at their own goal line. But
it was. Okay. Geno Stone's is going to be more impressive than that. It's going to be more like 40 yards. 43. There you go. If I get a 43-yard early third quarter Geno Stone pick 6, you owe me $2.
Sure.
Okay. Bengals Commanders on Monday evening. I'm looking forward to it. It's looking like it's going to be really nice weather. I like these late September Monday night primetime games. I mean, the Bengals pretty much had a primetime home game in late September every year for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's nice. It is going to be Ring of Honor night. I know fans are trying to lead a blackout. I don't know if it will actually be partaken, but it'll be exciting regardless. Any other final thoughts?
No, if you're going to the game, hope we see you there. We will be in attendance for sure. I'm going to be wearing black. I didn't know there was a blackout, but I tend to just like wear the jersey the team's wearing. Are we wearing black against the Panthers?
Yes.
Okay, I got to remember.
See, okay, here's what I have to ask you, Mick, now is so for one, I ordered a new Bengals jersey, and I told you don't know whose jersey I bought. And it's funny, it literally just stuck in transit in the Louisville hub of UPS for 10 days. And I was finally getting the process where I'm like, okay, like, I kind of need it now. So it came yesterday. So here's my question for you. Do I debut it? Is Monday Night Football worth it? Or do I save it for the Carolina trip? Or do I just wear it both times regardless?
I mean,
Monday Night Football.
I'm wearing my Jamar black jersey both games.
Yes, I think I gotta. Unless they lose, in that case, then I have to switch it because I can't mess with the mojo.
This is America. You wear whatever jersey you want to wear, Sam.
I look forward to it. Remember to follow us on our social media channels. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, favorite podcasting platform as well. Give us a 5-star rating. That place as well. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking with a Panthers representative to break down that game because I'm really excited to see Bengals at Carolina. So until next time, Mick, have a good rest of your week, and Hoo Day, right?
Good day. Thanks for watching.